Hi, guys. Welcome to a new episode of the Unfiltered Feed. Today, we are back with our weekly episode where we'll cover some of the best cricketing moments of the past week and also look into the next week and discuss any exciting moments that are coming up. I have with me my co host Ved. How have you been and how's your day going?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing really well, and the weekend has just started, so I'm still enjoying. And I like the subtle change of roles that we did over here. Yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to, and can't wait to begin.
Obviously, there's a few interesting things in cricket coming up. So let's dive straight into it. Today we are going to talk about two very important games that are happening tomorrow as of the day of recording. It's going to start in less than 6 hours, I think. So we've got two big games for India. The first one obviously being the World Cup final for the women's. It's the first ever World Cup final where India is playing. Oh, sorry, the second, I think.
Mhm.
We've played
Right.
in 2017 and once before as well. But it's the first final without Australia or England. We are obviously playing against South Africa. And then we also have the third T20 between India and Australia, which is happening in Australia. We also want to talk about the previous T20 where India were absolutely destroyed by Australia. And then obviously a few more exciting stories that Ved will share. And then we'll talk a bit about Formula One as well today. So it's an exciting episode. So let's get straight into it by talking about the Women's World Cup final.
Yes, and so the final is going to be probably the most watched women's game in India at least, and I can't really wait. Over here, the timing won't really be that suitable. Starts at 3:15 a.m., but uh, I can trust myself to wake up at 3 and watch the toss as well. So I can't wait. I think India deserve to win a trophy. I won't really say that they deserve to win in particularly this event because of the way they played in the league stages. But the kind of efforts and the hard work India have been putting in, I think in this decade at least, it can all culminate into something really special tomorrow. And I feel that that is what these ladies deserve, especially Harmanpreet Kaur, who's been playing since 2009, so a 16-year career, and this is her chance to win her first ever ICC trophy.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a it's been the same story for the women's team like the men's team, where until 2023 we reached the knockout stages for almost every single tournament, but never won a trophy. And now the men's team has suddenly found its groove, and we are winning trophies left, right, and center. So I'm sure the women's team will also like to replicate that. And kicking it off with a World Cup would be really special, and that too at home. And it's their best chance because, as I said, we are not playing Australia or England. And in fact, we have beaten Australia. So that should give us a lot of confidence as well. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope we'll win the World Cup.
Yeah, but after 19th November, uh, I don't really like to keep my hopes very high, especially in the finals, because I've been through, or rather, a lot of India has been through hard times, and whenever we expect too much or we are a bit overconfident, we're brought down in very short period of time. So I'll only believe when I see it, but hopefully we have a cracker of a game tomorrow.
Yeah, it's happening at Navi Mumbai, DY Patil. and India have played their last 2 or 3 games here, so they're very familiar with the conditions. But what do you think about the the contest as a whole? Do you think South Africa uh, will give us a tough competition, or do you think one team is way ahead? Because I think in the league stage we lost to them. But what do you make of this contest? Because they also have 0 trophies, so I'm sure they'll also be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think South Africa is a very good team and they've performed better than us this in this tournament so far. That's what I honestly feel. And even they're coming off a high and after convincingly beating England in the semi-final. So I think even they are a very formidable side. So they won't make us feel the absence of Australia. That's what I feel. And I think the this main players to keep an eye on, if I'm allowed to move on to that part, is are Laura Woolward, of course, the captain. She's coming off a coming of age knock in the semis, and Marizan Cap, of course, a lot of India has seen her even in WPL playing for the Delhi Capitals. She can bat, she can bowl, she does everything, and she got a fifer in the semi as well. So I think two of the best players coming off probably the best performances of their careers is a bit of an ominous sign for India. But apart from those two, I think the rest of the team is pretty much manageable for us, I think. Uh, we lost to Nadine de Klerk in the league stage where she single-handedly got them out of trouble and helped them chase that total. One bowler who I would like to keep an eye on though has to be Mlaba. She's a left arm off spinner, and those are the kind of bowlers that have troubled us. Even at the start of this tournament, in a couple of games, I think Sri Lanka and Pakistan, we were cruising and then suddenly we lost track. So that is one thing we have to be aware of, especially if we are batting first.
Yeah, that's well put. I think South Africa, they also came back against England because they faced a crushing defeat in the league stage game. I think they were bowled out for 69 runs, if I'm
Mhm.
not wrong. And likewise, India also had a very mentally crushing defeat against Australia because they chased down 331 runs or something similar. But then both the teams came back in the semis, so both are coming off a very high and a very good performance. So it's
Yeah.
going to be close.
If that pattern is followed, I think India are up for the
Yeah.
win.
But who do you think is the most important player for India? Because I'm sure Jemima Rodriguez will have to perform well, but I think it's a bit unfair to expect another match-winning knock from her because I think she's played the innings of her life against Australia, and she will obviously expect someone else to also step up this time. But who do you think will be the most important player for us? Yeah, either a batter or a bowler.
Uh, Honestly, I feel that Jemima really played a part, and I'm kind of happy that uh, such a performance was not required from one of the people you expected to come up with such performance, who are of course Smriti and Harman. So in a way, I feel that this is the perfect chance for either of them. Not to say Harman didn't perform in the semi, she scored a great 89, but Smriti and Harman, of course, have a chance to. They have their fate in their own hands. Uh, we have been asking for a trophy for them for a long time. So now is the time that they actually perform, deliver, and take the trophy themselves. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Smriti bats. She's been famously known to not perform in knockouts. So she has a great chance to beat those allegations. And one player who I would like to, or I believe can have a big day out is Shafali Verma, simply because she has no baggage. She's last played ODIs a year back, and then she's been performing in the domestic circuit for quite a while. But still, the management did trust Pratika Rawal, and so much so that they didn't even include Shafali as a backup in the squad, which kind of shows the trust they had. So I feel Shafali has nothing to lose because uh, she I won't say that she is out of reckoning, but when Pratika comes back, surely Pratika is going to be favored. So this is possibly her chance to just kind of go back to her routine, but go off with a bang. And life has been really a roller coaster of a ride for her in the last few days. So I think she can really surprise South Africa.
Yeah, and I'm sure they, I don't think they must have planned a lot for her because she wasn't even in the squad. So she can be that surprise package that can, even if she doesn't score a lot of runs, she can, build that momentum for us or get us those quick runs at the start and set the innings up. So
Yeah, and I did see that in the semi as well. So I just feel that that is what the management has also told her to just go and express yourself because you saw her come in and she got out for 10 of just 5 balls and she was looking to hit every ball away. So if that is what the management has told her, I think that's a good move and it should be supported, especially with the depth that Indian batting has.
that's true. Another thing I wanted to point out was that the bowling in the last game, even though we conceded over 320 runs, I think, I mean, that this is what I heard in a lot of analysis videos, that Australia was still about 20 to 30 runs short. So a lot of credit goes to the middle overs bowlers, especially the spinners who took, I think, a few wickets in clumps. So do you think it will be the same tactic against South Africa, or will we have to change our approach a bit? Or, I mean, in terms of the players that they have, do they still backspin, or do we have to maybe bring in someone else or add extra pace to our bowling?
I think our bowling, the variety is well balanced at this point. Uh, they've got Kranti God and Renuka as the pacers, and then Deepti, Sricharani, and Radha Yadav as the three spinners. So I feel that part is well handled, and I genuinely feel that South Africa are a bit worse in playing spin as compared to Australia. So we could use that tactic really well. And middle overs, as you mentioned, they were really good. I was in my bed, but still watching them bowl. And at one stage, they did look like they could get up to maybe 380 as well, the way they were batting. But we just kept picking wickets, and eventually they slowed down. And so I think our bowlers did play a part in that. And in the finals, there's of course going to be the pressure of the finals, apart from good bowling. So when you have a couple of wickets and you keep them tight, chances are that they will fumble because apart from the pressure of the wickets, there's also the added pressure. So I just feel you have to stick to your basics in such a crucial game and just hope or just see the opponent crumbling.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is what in the men's format, obviously, MS Dhoni and his teams were so good at, that in such crucial games, they never made mistakes, but they also didn't play brilliantly well. They just played their normal game and they waited for the opposition to crumble because of the pressure of a big game. So, with that, let's wrap this up with your, I mean, we are not really big enough to give advice to the international cricket team of India, but if you were in the management and if you had to give them a quick pep talk, what is one advice that you would like to share based on your experience watching other teams play and win finals?
Yeah, the only advice I can give them is to not get overawed by the occasion and not really feel the pressure because surely they'll be playing a big final at home for the first time and it can get a bit hard, but uh, just try and ensure that it doesn't reflect in your performance on the field, especially while fielding, because in such games, fielding is a very underrated aspect. We saw that uh, we've seen it quite a few times that good fielding can really lift the team, but at the same time, a couple of misfields here and there, and this feels like the entire team is disintegrating. So your mentality and attitude on the field is very important. And under pressure, the chances that few things can go wrong, but it is important to stay cool, calm, and collected.
That's a great advice actually about fielding because this is a sad memory, but the 2023 World Cup final that happened, uh, the biggest difference I feel was Australia's fielding because they were obviously against the entire crowd because we had, I think, over a lakh supporters cheering for India. The World Cup was in India, and India were unbeaten in the league stage. So Australia were against everything, but the fielding that they showed, the runs that they were saving, the catch from Travis Head, obviously, all of that just it completely took any momentum from India, and Australia looked collectively the better side. So I think that's something that India can learn from, and I hope they do this on the field tomorrow. Obviously, I think the toss is going to be crucial, but like we discussed earlier, it's better to lose the tosses in such situations because you don't want to take a decision. You would rather like to just be given something and then make the most out of it.
Yeah,
But what do
and
you think is
this
the
is also another underrated aspect. People might feel that it's too small a thing to be talking about, but I have seen that whenever captains choose to do something on their own and then are later proven wrong, it does play a part in their thinking and in the team's attitude as the match progresses. Whenever maybe, for example, if your team wins the toss and you choose to bowl, and then you see a lot of runs being scored, it affects you, and you feel that you've taken the wrong decision, and it just affects your balance and thought process in a
morale?
way. Yeah, so that is also very underrated but a subtle aspect. So that is why I always prefer to lose the toss in such situations. Not that I've had the opportunity to toss the coin in such situations, but unless it's of course very much skewed in a particular choice. But
And
other
unless
than
unless you're Rohit Sharma, who will always choose to bat first, regardless of the format or the team you're playing against.
yeah, so if I had the option, I would have lost the toss.
Or you win the toss, but you tell the other captain to take a call still. But with the location being Navi Mumbai, we saw last time that 330 plus or 340, whatever it was, those many runs were chased down, and in the end, pretty comfortably because they had over and over left. So, what do you think if we win the toss? Let's say, what should be the logic? Because obviously, with Rohit Sharma, as I mentioned, his logic is that it's a big game. You always want to put runs on the board, and even if you don't score enough runs, you have still done that. And then it's up to the opposition to chase them down. But at the same time, on a venue like Mumbai, we saw in the semi final teams chasing 340 runs. So, as a captain, if you win the toss, and not just for India, even South Africa, how do you approach this, and what, like, how do you think, and what's the optimal decision to take?
Uh, I think in this context, very specifically, apart from dew, which will play a part and has played a
Yeah,
part, the
yeah,
rain is also a factor because there are chances of it raining. So in such situations, it's always better to bat second because you have an idea and you won't get robbed of uh, the Duckworth Lewis and of course with dew. So I think that puts it more in the favor of bowling first. Of course, batting first and putting runs on the board is a very useful thing, but in this particular context, I feel bowling better. Bowling first.
yeah. And the last time India were bowling second in a final at Mumbai, we all know what happened. So let's manifest that the same thing happens again. So obviously the 2011 final.
Uh-huh.
I said bowling second. I'm sorry, chasing. India were chasing. So with that, I think it's uh, it's time to move ahead. But just one last question: who will win the final? What do you think? This is obviously for the shot that will come out later.
I'm predicting a very, very emphatic Indian victory. And
I'm actually very confused because usually in the past I've always jinxed the team with my prediction. But obviously a week back I said that India will play South Africa for the World Cup final, and I was kind of joking because I also knew in the back of my mind that Australia and England are very strong. But I got lucky and both of them lost. So here I am. I think the match will be won by. I think it will be South Africa. Unfortunately, I think the pressure is too much for India.
so you see a repeat of 19 November.
Yeah, but I think on that day we were outplayed by the skill. But this time I think we'll be outplayed by the atmosphere and the pressure.
I don't think I will be able to take that uh, result, but I think you have to make do.
Yes, we'll see obviously what happens in the next podcast. By looking at Wade's face, you'll obviously know what has happened. But for now, let's move to the next important game of the day. And this is obviously starting before the World Cup final. And this one is also a very important game because it's the third game of a five-match T20 series. And if we lose this game, then we can't win the series because we are 1-0 behind. And the first game was washed out. So this is essentially a do or die game if we want to win the series, obviously. We are playing Australia, and I'm not sure where this match is at, but
Hobart.
it's at Hobart. So it's not a venue where a lot of international cricket takes place. And I'm pretty sure India is playing here a lot of after several years.
I think it's the
But
first time they're playing at the Belle Reef Oval.
okay, that's interesting. But before talking about this, let's talk about the previous T20. The first one obviously was washed out, so there's not much to talk about it. But the last one was very surprising because we lost that game convincingly. So, what was your biggest takeaway from it? And what do you make of India? Because we were on a high after the Asia Cup and
Mm.
we were thinking that we are invincible and we lose like this to arguably Australia's B or A team. I don't think all of their
Yeah,
stars are playing.
yeah. I think we were just outdone by the conditions, and we couldn't really adjust to the pace and bounce of the wicket. And Josh Hazelwood was too good for us because I feel if we had gotten through that initial phase, we could have scored around 160 at least, and then we had a better chance. But the first few overs were enough to derail us. And of course, after Asia Cup, uh, we have been constantly voicing it out here. I'm not sure how many have heard it, but we have been constantly saying that India don't look that serious, and they have been playing around quite a few times uh, with the batting order, with the selections, and this is what will happen more often than not when you do such things. I think with now the World Cup being around 3 months away, I honestly thought that this series would be the one where everything will get decided. You still have 3 games to do that, but I think it's high time the management starts uh, visualizing the squad for the T20 World Cup and head in that direction. Because there aren't a lot of matches left, and you don't want to be tinkering with the squad with, let's say, just a, a couple of series is left. So this is the perfect time. And in other, like, not go too hard on them, I would also say that these conditions you will very, very rarely get in T20s. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do in the more normal conditions that Hobart will produce.
Yeah, that's true. I completely agree with the batting order debacle that's happening because I think first of all, bringing in Shubman Gill itself was not the best decision. We have obviously spoken about this in the past, but that's okay. I understand the logic behind it, that they want Shubman Gill to be the next big thing and play all the formats and potentially lead in all the formats. I don't agree with it, but I understand the logic. But then the way they are treating Sanju Samson, I can't understand why they're doing it because he was doing well as an opener. I think he didn't have the best home series, but he played well in South Africa and he was looking comfortable with Abhishek Sharma. But then they asked him to bat lower down the order, which is not his natural batting position. And now that he's started to find his groove, I think he played a couple of good knocks in the Asia Cup. This time they promoted him to number three, and he was virtually opening again because Gill was dismissed, I think, in the first couple of overs. So I don't understand the reason behind that because you have players like Surya Kumar Yadav, who himself is not in the best form, who had a great chance to get in and play a few balls before he could go big. They wasted that. In the end, he ended up coming, I think, in the next over because Samson himself was dismissed very early. You also have Tilak Verma, who has mentioned and he's proven it that he likes to bat at number three and he likes to get in and again get set and then he can go big. So you're basically compromising three players with this decision. You're compromising Sanju Samson, who's been given a role to play as the finisher, and you're compromising Tilak Verma and Surya Kumar Yadav. So I don't get the logic behind this. With Gill, you at least see the vision, what they have, but with this, I don't know what they're thinking. So I was kind of confused with this. But apart from that, as you said, the conditions were too tough. And I think the philosophy that this team is going with is to attack right from ball one. And when you play like that, you will have matches like this. We also saw a lot of such results with England when they used to go all out in T20s and ODIs. So I think that's a part and parcel of the strategy that you go with. But the batting order and the reasoning behind that is something I can't get over.
Yeah. But one thing that I would like to say is that these players are very selective based on the conditions and the conditions that we'll play most of our matches after this series are the ones where this set of players are well suited to perform in. So I just hope that we don't perform so badly that these games end up um, making the management feel like they need to make a change in the players because that would be really bad
Unfair?
because yeah,
Yeah.
because uh, these kind of players will perform in India. And if you're looking at the T20 World Cup as your next goal, then I don't think this series should have much of an impact because Shivam Dube, Akshar Patel, Sanju Samson, they've historically been known to not handle pace very well. And it is just happens to be so that your batting order, which is chosen to perform in certain conditions, all of them aren't necessarily good in a different type of conditions. So I think you have to just accept it and hope that they don't lose their confidence. And hopefully you can build a better or a different team when the next World Cup will be played in these conditions. But right now your focus shouldn't be on choosing players for these conditions as well, but rather focus on where you will be playing most of your matches.
Yeah, that's true. I think, as you mentioned, this time or this set of players should be the ones who are eyed for the World Cup, and you should just make sure that they are playing a lot of games together so that they can gel and the team kind of starts playing as one unit. Another interesting decision was to promote Harshit Rana over Shivam Dube, and I kind of get it because Dube obviously is more of a hard hitter and he likes to play spin, as we just mentioned. But I still don't feel Harshit Rana is a better batsman than Shivam Dube. I think Dube should have been brought ahead. Ask him to play sensibly. I'm sure he's capable of doing that. But I think this is a bit of a. I feel Shivam Dube's confidence must have taken a blow because you see that your management doesn't trust you to play in such situations and promotes a bowler. I know Harshit Rana, they're looking at him as an all-rounder, but I think you should let your batters do the job and let Harshit Rana do his job as a bowler because he won't be in the side because he bats well. He should be in the side because he's a good bowler. So this is also pretty confusing for me.
Yeah, I think they should look at him as a number 8 batter at max. And that is the position he would have come in any normal circumstance. But they tried to promote him, and what didn't make sense was that he was promoted when the fifth wicket fell in maybe the eighth or ninth over. So it just doesn't make sense. If there were like just a few balls left and they wanted to see if Rana can give it a whack, then maybe you could have promoted him ahead of Dubey. But this just doesn't make sense because Dubey has played such knocks in such conditions before, in such situations, not conditions. So I think he could have also gotten a chance to prove himself, but that is what the management decided.
Yeah. And now I hope that they don't look at Harshit Rana and they pick him over Arshdeep Singh just because he scored these 37 runs. Because it's not his job to score runs. It's the batter's job to score runs, and he should be taking wickets and bowl well, which he hasn't, unfortunately. So, do you think they should bring back Arshdeep? Because I feel so. I think he's picked up over 100 wickets now for India in T20s. So he's
Yeah.
your leading bowler in the absence of Bumrah. And even with Bumrah there, I think Arshdeep is still a bit more important because he can swing the ball up front and he's a lefty as well. Plus, he bowls nicely in the death nowadays. So, do you think they should bring him in instead of Rana, or how do they balance the batting order now?
Yeah, that is a very tricky question because you obviously want Arshdeep in these conditions more so, but at the same time, you want to give Harshit Rana a chance to try and see if he can be your pacer to complement Bumrah when the World Cup comes. So I don't know what the management is thinking. If they're thinking that Arshdeep is locked for the World Cup, and they're just giving Harshit Rana a chance to see if he can be that backup bowler, or they're genuinely thinking that Harshit Rana will be your second pacer along with Bumrah, because Arshdeep is way too good to not be a confirmed starter in this playing 11. So I feel, uh, I hope that the management is has locked in Arshdeep and they're just trying to find out if they need Harshit Rana or Hardik as the third pacer will work, because I think Hardik would be good enough as your third pacer in India, and you also have Shivam Dube. So you can still continue playing three spinners and then have three pacers as well with Dube as your seventh option. So that is enough of bowling depth and variety.
Yeah, I just
So
hope they
then,
play Arshdeep over Rana and not Rana as the second pacer.
yeah, so that needs a bit of thinking. Again, they want batting depth as well at the same time, which they feel that Rana provides better than Arshdeep. But I'm sure if they do promote Arshdeep at 7, at some point even he will score because he's not that bad, to be honest. So if they prioritize bowling skills, which I think they should, then I feel Arshdeep is a uh, clearly a better bowler than Harshit Rana. And at batting, he's at least 80% of what Rana can provide. So I see it as a no-brainer.
Yeah, plus if we play Harshit Rana, then we only have right-handed pace bowlers, which is a bit one-dimensional. But Arshdeep brings that left arm angle, plus he swings the ball as well, so could be useful there. But let's talk about Australia and especially Josh Hazelwood, because I think this was one of his best spells that I've seen, especially the way he got the wickets of Surya Kumar Yadav. I think that ball was
Mm.
incredible. And then he also got Sanju Samson, I think, in the same over, and Tilak Verma as well
Tilak,
later. So, what did you make of him? Obviously, he plays for RCB, so you must be very happy that he's doing well. But do you think he's currently the world's best bowler in all formats? Or do you think he has a few more competitors?
he has a few competitors, but at the moment, I think he is the best in the world, and he has overtaken Jasprit Bumrah. Might be for a brief period, but right now that is the case. I think his consistency with line and length is just impeccable, and on most days, that is the skill that you need as a fast bowler. And across conditions and across situations, bowling at a consistent length generally works. And he also has a very good Yorker, which he bowls when there's nothing off the pitch and in death overs. And he also has a slower one. So he has the complete package, just that he knows when to use which skill and he doesn't try and complicate things, which is really good. So yeah, he's one of the best in the world. And thankfully for India, he's no longer going to play in this series.
Yeah, that's a nice segue to talk about the third T20. There are a couple of changes in Australia. Travis Head, obviously, along with Josh Hazelwood, is being rested for the exciting Ashes series coming up in a few weeks' time or a few days' time at this point. And there are replacements for both of those players. And the big name who's coming back is Glenn Maxwell, who kind of loves to play against India but hasn't done that well. But India is one of his most favorite oppositions. So, how do you see the third T20 playing? Do you think Australia still have the advantage with Hazelwood and Head now not playing? Or do you think India will dominate this one because of the conditions as well?
I feel uh, India have the upper hand because they're too good a team to miss out twice in a row. And even with all the problems that we discussed. And plus Australia not having Head and Hazelwood, both of them, and even Zampa, who's already missing. So it's a very depleted Australian side. And I would be a bit concerned if India uh, lose this or are outplayed in this game as well, because at some point your skills will overpower the conditions being foreign to you. So I feel India have the better chance. And I wanted to ask you uh, if do you see this Australian strategy of just loading your team with all-rounders slowly creeping into other teams? Surely they aren't the first team to do it, but they've gone double down on it and they've fully embraced this. They've got Tim David, Marcus Stoinis, Glenn Maxwell, Matt Short, Mitch Marsh, of course.
Is Mitch
So
Owen also playing or no?
I think he might get a chance as well. So all of these all-rounders. So you've just removed the speciality player factor, which used to be a thing a few years back. So do you think this is a better strategy, considering Australia did fail in the previous two T20 World Cups, so they had to do something majorly different in their approach and mindset. So do you think this will work?
Yeah, I believe this is the better strategy going into T20s at least, because you want players who can contribute in multiple departments. India were famously very bad with this because at one point we had Rohit, Rahul, Virat, Shreyas Iyer, and a few others, MS Dhoni maybe, who used to just bat. And if they got out, then they were basically useless for the rest of the game. But I think this is what MS Dhoni kind of began. I mean, he obviously didn't inspire the Aussies, but he is famous for doing this in the IPL, where he has so many all-rounders, where everyone can just come and bat, and then it also increases his bowling options. So it gives the captain a lot of flexibility as well in the field. So Australia, I think for the past few years they have had a lot of all-rounders. I think Mitch Marsh, Stoinis, and Maxwell have been the ones who have played in ODIs and T20s for a while. So it gives them an advantage because it increases the batting depth without compromising on the bowling depth. So you're essentially playing with about 15 players instead of 11. So I think this is the best strategy because it gives players chance to contribute in multiple departments. And even in India, if you look at it, the newer generation players like Abhishek Sharma, Tilak Verma, maybe even Jaiswal, all of these guys can bowl. If they are not full-time bowlers, they can at least bowl a couple of overs if required. And you also got a lot of all-rounders now, like Akshar Patel, Hardik Pandya, Washington Sundar, Nitish Kumar Reddy. So I think the rise of these players, even Dubey obviously, the rise of these players is going to help because it will allow the captain to have a lot more options to play with.
Yeah, and I have a theory regarding this, which is that you shouldn't have more than two single skilled players in your playing 11 uh, in modern T20 cricket. So in an ideal world, I would have seen India have not have bringing not have brought in Shubman Gill, instead continuing with Abhishek and Sanju at the top, and then added another all-rounder in the middle, preferably Nitish Kumar Reddy or Riyan Parag. For Indian conditions, I think Riyan Parag, him being in form would have been good, but that is what personally feel they could have done.
Yeah, that's true.
So
We also discussed this earlier because Gill, he's leading the ODI side, he's leading the Test side. So they should keep him focused on that and let all these younger players take care of the T20 side of things.
yeah, so I think that is more than enough on cricket for this week.
There's one
And
last question to ask. Who will win this match? Because uh, India obviously coming off a loss, but do you think we've got the skill to win this time?
yeah, I think as we discussed, India is a skillful side. All the shortcomings and all the mismanagement aside, they still are too good a side to lose another game, especially against such a depleted side from Australia. So I feel India have the upper hand in Hobart, and hopefully the conditions aren't too bad for them. Yeah,
I don't think so. I feel India is going to lose here as well. I think we are going to go too big, too quick, and we are going to lose a lot of wickets like last time. So we'll see.
yeah. So now, before we end the podcast for this week, we've got a returning segment to this episode, which is, of course, F1 Roundup with Yash. If you have noticed, we have been keeping away from this sport in the recent past. We have been focusing on cricket because there's so much to talk about. But a little birdie told me that the F1 championship has picked up pace again and we are headed for an exciting end. So I would like you to tell us more about
Yeah, sure. I was the little birdie, by the way.
it.
I think the last time we spoke about F1 was after the summer break when the championship was pretty much decided between Oscar Piastri and Norris, and more so Piastri because he had a 34-point lead at one point and he was on form. So nobody thought that he could lose the lead from or lose the championship from such a lead. But at last, things change. And it's only been 5 races since then, and the picture has completely changed now. Uh, Now, Piastri is not even leading the championship. He's 1 point behind Lando Norris. Norris had a dominant win at Mexico where he won by 33 seconds and he took over the championship lead. And the bigger news is that Max Verstappen, who was over 100 points behind after the summer break, is now only 26 or 36, is only 36 points behind the championship leader. So he's basically within a win and a second place, or a win and a third place behind the championship leader. So if the McLarens fight and collide, and if Max wins, then he's basically right in the championship. And we have 4 more races left, so it's not like it's impossible for him. Even if he just wins all of the 4 races, and if Lando finishes off the podium even once, Verstappen would win the championship. So it's actually feasible now for him. And the car is quite competitive, as you can guess. And that's exactly why he's come so close. So it's poised really well. And we are going to Brazil next week, where he won last year from 17th place. It's one of his favorite tracks. So I'm quite excited to see what happens.
Yeah, that is a very interesting turnaround. But one thing that intrigues me, honestly, is that uh, with McLaren, I think they've already sealed the Constructors' Championship for this season. And now that both of the drivers are within touching distance of each other, and there is a third uh, competitor as well. So, what do you think will the McLaren management decide? Will they let the two drivers fight and sort it out between them, or they would try and uh, help one of them win? Because if they try and fight amongst themselves, there is a risk, of course, of crashing or something going wrong. So, do you think the team will interfere in this, or will they let the drivers sort it out?
That's a very good question because that's the tricky situation that they're in now. Uh, I think till last race when Oscar was over 15 points ahead, I think it would have been a bit easier for them to favor him because he was ahead. But now that it's only 1 point, it will be unfair if they favor one driver. But the thing for McLaren is that as the constructor, their main goal for the season is to win the championship for the constructors, which they have done. So according to the management, the goal for them as a team is now to give both their drivers the best chance to win every race for the remainder of the season. And what the drivers do with that is totally up to them. If they crash, if they let one driver pass, if they don't win, if they, I don't know, come second every race, it's up to them. It's their responsibility. McLaren, I don't think will interfere because it will be unfair, as I said. And it will be very, it will be the funniest thing if they lose the drivers' championship because they've had such a dominant car. And if you had any other driver in that car, I mean, if you had Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, they would have wrapped up the championship by now. But unfortunately, they have had two drivers who are not still the best in F1. And that's the only reason why Verstappen is still fighting for the championship. So I just hope one of them wins. Otherwise, it's going to be the biggest joke in modern Formula One history.
So if you are just put to the hot seat in a hot minute, who would you or do you think Verstappen can come and win the championship? Or even a better question would be, will we see the title being decided in Abu Dhabi?
I actually don't feel so because what we've seen in the last two races is that Lando Norris has been the better McLaren driver by a huge margin. Piastri, I think, finished P5 in both the races, and Lando finished in P2 and P1. So he's clearly gotten something out of that car which Piastri hasn't. So unless Piastri has a turnaround, I think within McLaren, Norris should be comfortably ahead. And the car itself was really dominant in Mexico. I mean, you can't win by 33 seconds if you don't have a dominant car. And Verstappen finished only P3 behind a Ferrari. So I don't think Verstappen has got that much of an advantage. The fact that he came so close is because of McLaren being a bit inconsistent because the car wasn't at its optimal performance in the last few races. Plus, they had a bad weekend in Baku, which basically meant that Norris finished in P7 and Piastri was, I think, he crashed on the opening lap. So I think Verstappen's comeback has
Mm.
been a bit over. Um, it's a bit kind of overshadowed by McLaren's faults as well. But going ahead, I feel Lando Norris is the favorite. He's ahead now by 1 point, and he's been on top form because he's scored a podium in Austin and won the race in Mexico. So if I was to put money, I would put it on Lando Norris.
Okay. So I think in the coming weeks we will have to include F1 as well because it is such an interesting phase in the championship. So I think with that, it's the perfect time to end for the week. We have again recorded for around 55 minutes. So I think it's a good sign that whatever field we have chosen to cover, which is sports, never runs out of content.
Yeah. Before we end, is there anything interesting to look forward to in the coming week?
I think there's a lot of cricket going on around the world, but nothing really out of the blue. We just have a few things. Uh, I think the Indian emerging squad will be announced for the emerging Asia Cup, and I've gotten a few news sources telling me that Vaibhav Suryavanshi could get a chance. So 14-year-old playing technically for India A is going to be a big thing. And of course, we've got the India A versus South Africa A unofficial test series going on, in which Rishabh Pant is the captain, and that will have a result tomorrow as well. In fact, the day would have started at the time of recording, so that is something to look forward to. But other than that, just the routine week in sports will happen.
Yeah, and as we draw closer to the IPL retention, we'll also come to know about the big trade rumor that's going around. Obviously, Sanju Samson, KL Rahul, Tristan Stubbs. I heard that Henrik Klase is also expected to be traded. So there's a lot of rumors, and especially on Twitter, a lot of fan pages that add more heat to the fire by making some random trades and posting it as official sources. So it will be
Yeah,
interesting to watch what happens in that space.
and whenever you see any news, the first thing that comes to your mind is that, yeah, it makes sense. So I don't think that is a fake news, but that is more often than not fake. So I would wait for 15th November to come and then getting to know the releases and trades officially from the squads, from the teams. That would be the best way to go forward.
Obviously, we'll have a special episode for IPL retentions, so you can wait for that. But till then, we are signing off and we are wishing India the best for tomorrow's or today's World Cup final.
Yes. So until next time, this is Wayne signing off.